Okay, Superior Shape fans and other humans, it is plus 12 minutes of labor time on this 2-meter shaped hone. I have stopped and done a look-see of the bevel with my binocular stereo microscope, and what I can tell you is at the heel of the bevel, it is starting to chip, not from chips that the customer delivered to me, but from the coarseness of the stone combined with its effective diameter being too much of a challenge for the metal to hold. So we are going to put a little bit more back beveling away from the heel. As you can see, I'm ignoring the first centimeter or so where I saw the bad stuff. And on one side of the, let's see, what was it again? On the non-show side, as it were, of the toe, the bevel that I created could be a little bit wider, so it would be very useful here to have a longer diameter hone. That was also 1000 grit. I don't have that. But I think we've done enough work that we can stop here inside of 15 minutes of hard labor, and let's start doing the next steps. Now, as far as let's see if I could show you. Do you see those little marks right there? I see some marks that I made. There's just a few of them. Now, wherever the razor is the narrowest, that's where you'll get the most generally. So at the toe, I could see quite a bit, but it's sort of like a holographic striation that's right around there. And if you put it under bright light and move it, you will certainly be able to see it, customer. Mr. M. Okay, Mr. M, we're going to now switch to the cuticule with the much longer diameter. Because I have made such a thin shape to the bevel, the shape is what's important, not the coarseness of it. It's all about that shape. And so I have made a bevel that's this shape, and now I'm going to be using a longer diameter hone, which will touch over here and start making the tip of the razor get a little shorter and get a little wider, like that. And because we have removed the physical obstructions of metal that were between the spine and the edge, the work on the second step is very fast. It doesn't take long at all for these striations to start overtaking the apex. They look a lot different than the striations from the supposedly 1000 grit RH Prida alum oxide and novaculite combination waterstone. And thus it is easy to stop and check and see if you've got these striations creeping up toward the bevel, toward the spine of the bevel. As far as the adding of width of the bevel, yes, I would say approximately 0.2 to 1/4 of a millimeter. The bevel was widened at the parts most affected. Again, over at the toe, I have to be careful because the razor is, you know, a 32nd of an inch or more narrower over there. And I don't know if it's my flaws as a honer, which I would probably say it is, or is it just because razors tend to be a lot different down at the heel than they are at the wrist, but it seems like the heel always starts the microchipping first, even when it's wider. You have to be a little crazy to do this stuff. Let's face it, I'm not a master grinder that's formally apprenticed and metallurgically trained. This is a devout man of science using the scientific method like a test pilot. But that's how you learn. And if my largest haters out there are to give information that I find useful, I would immediately absorb that information, and I don't care if it's the hater that said it. They deserve the credit. I can't remember what it was. One of my largest haters, H. Brad Boonshaft on the Badger and Blade, said something recently that was brilliant, which was using, what he said, adding more pressure is never the answer, or something along those lines. Like, more pressure always is bad. And I never thought of it that way, but damned if he isn't right, little small mental penis hater boy. So good on him. Bad on him for being mean to the newbie and making it so that people don't want to do this because he wants to tout his emperor's clothing. But even a broken clock is right twice a day. No backhanded compliment here. He said other good things too. The bevel, the heel reprofiling is very useful for most people when they're honing. They have trouble with the heels being wider. The people who make the razors tell me that that point a centimeter in from the heel where it's widest is where it is most effective. So they actually do not want you to remove it, but it's your damn razor. And if it's easier for you to hone that way, I think you should remove it. And the advice that he gave about making a curve and all that is excellent advice. I've probably already overdone this, so I'm going to stop now. It feels like we're making a bunch of smooth sensations. We don't want to have smooth. We want the razor to arrive to the customer with those coarse scratches, the majority of the bevel that they see, because that means that the majority of the bevel is thinly shaped. Now, because I broke out a $1.50 sheet of sandpaper and I'm a cheap bastard, I am going to take my beloved here and resurface it and give the whole surface as much of the diffuse 150 grit as possible. That really is the best for me. So, Mr. Customer, Mr. M, wherever you were, where were you again? Mr. M from South Carolina. I like all my memories to be location-based. And you're getting the good stuff because I can't do it every time. You know, it takes many minutes to resurface this thing. But the first razor that gets honed after resurfaced is always the one that works out the best because you get that wonderful feedback and your brain can tell what the hell's going on. Okie dokie, that's some water with some ballast all on there. Has a nice resurfacing, and we are going to the final shape. Before we go to thickening, I'm just thickening it because I just do not believe that this razor has any shot at holding the position. And I don't want this customer, who I guess doesn't hone his own razor, to get something that he can't use, 10 times without a problem. If you've watched a lot of these videos, I'm trying to move away from it because it makes funny striation marks, but for my own honing and my own shaving, I consistently get the best result when I go like this and move away from the center axis in terms of the cutting edge and the axis of the ellipse. And the reason that works is over this way, it's 2 meters. Over this way, it's 8 meters. So when you go facing the 2 meters slightly, you are on the fly adjusting the diameter of the hone that you're using. And what that does is it puts your peak contact pressure point behind the actual edge of the razor. And if you hit that spot perfectly, where the razor is 1/10 of a millimeter or less thick, according to the old 1846 book, that will cause the entire remainder of the edge to flex to the wheel, or in our case, the wheel-shaped hone. And, back in the day, they had a 12-inch Arkansas stone, and they could just do like this and, lift the spine by variation and get the same effect. I don't have a 12-inch Arkansas stone, so I'm stuck with going off axis, which makes for funny marks on the razor in the hollow grind area. The marks don't bother me, but if I was buying a brand new razor, even though consistently for my incredibly difficult beard, consistently it's the best shave that way, just a little bit better than facing 90 degrees. But for a customer that's buying a brand new thing, I don't want them to have those marks, so I'm going to try to stay away from that unless they told me specifically otherwise. And it'd be nice to have 5 different Arkansas stones, all of varying long diameters. And if Bill M is watching, if you want to make that and sell that to the world, I'm your Huckleberry. I want to buy it. Anyway, it's been about 3 minutes of this. Yes, the steel is nice and hard on here. Impressive steel. I'm going to have to stay on here for quite some minutes. And then I will go stop and wipe and look to see if we have any microchipping. Hopefully we don't. If we do, I'm going to have to go backwards and bust out that caudicle again and get behind it. I don't feel that we do. I feel that the steel is good enough that it will hold this position for honing, but not for shaving. So after I'm done burnishing the bevel's tip as I made it, I am then going to bust out the Norton Ascent and then the diamond stone. Sorry, the diamond strop. Okie dokie, let's go take some look-sees. Okay, Superior Shave fans and our humans, I took a look. It is suffering from very mild geometry-induced microchipping. So first I'm going to use this coticule, which is flat, because I'm going to have to remove, 1/128th of an inch or something like that from the apex of the razor so that it will hold its position. There was a couple of spots where it's losing it down at the heel and then at the toe, and in the middle of the razor it looks fantastic. But we can't just spot change the angles. We have to do the whole thing. And the Norton Ascent is a lovely fast cutter, but it does have a feel of a synthetic stone. Whereas this coticule is flat, but also very smooth. So I'm going to have to make its marks, thicken the tip, and overcome any microchips. And then we will go to the Norton Ascent and the diamond pasted thing to make the apex sharper than what this coticule can do. When you're going geometrically backwards, so to speak, as we are now, you want to do the bare minimum that you can get away with. And it's not easy to know what that is without stopping and going over to the microscope and taking look-sees. Because those tiny chips, I'm not going to feel it on the stone, but you're going to feel it on your face, that's for damn sure. Anyway, let me go over there and take a look again. What I am seeing in the scope is a wonderfully thin profile to the edge, which was not there before. When I look straight down at the cutting edge with the binocular stereoscope, you can get a sense for how well is the termination of the apex, but also, and this is the critical part, what is the thickness behind the apex? Because when it is thicker, it reflects more towards you, and when it is thin, it is pretty much impossible to get a good look at the little bevel because the angle of it is so acute that it doesn't reflect light back towards your eyes in the oculars. I don't want to take that away, and the middle of the razor is going to shave this man better than he ever did. But as is common with many razors, not just this Portland razor, it's normal for a razor. There'll be ebbs and flows in the structural integrity of the hardness and tempering. And so on this razor, there's like one or two spots. There's two spots, like about here and about here, where it's just not as structurally integral as the rest of it. But we're in the area where me personally, if it's my razor and that's how I want to hone razors that are honed for hire, I would rather keep the brilliance over here and accept the slight degradation over there, because I don't think it's going to cut you or anything, and I think you'll remember the greatness at the center a lot more than you will anything on the edge. Yeah, I can tell it's folding over right there. So I gotta break out the Ascent and bludgeon that part off. He's a fast worker, like I said. Let's get him out. When I bought the Ascent from sharpeningsupplies.com, I bought 2 of them, and then I took very fine carborundum powder and did figure eights against them over and over and over for many hours over several days, so that it would be as flat as possible, because we don't want it to be concave. He is going to very quickly take his marks over, and then we will go to the Gende thingamajigger, and then I will strop and do the hanging hair twist against my arms. You notice I'm not keeping aligned from the spine to from the cutting edge to the stone. That's because we're on a flat surface right now. Before we were on ellipses or cylinders, and now we're on a flat thing. On a flat thing, you can go like this all you want if you don't care about the angle of your little scratches. I'm looking for any little gleam of light that I don't want to be there, and I think they're more or less off. I'm going to go clean up Mr. Ascent and bust out the old diamond bench strap. Thank you, Mr. Customer, with all your cool tricks. This is the Gende Nanocloth Ultra 1/2 a micron. With every stroke, I'm feeling for where is the spine, and I would never do so many otherwise, but as I said, this razor is mildly compromised, but still something I bet you can shave pretty well with. I will only use the very slightly convex form behind it, this one, which is just a little bit, maybe 2 millimeters thicker here than here. Well, there you go. Okay, I hope you have fun.